Hello everyone, Don back with the next progress report on my Corsair. Alright, last you see me I was talking about getting the oil tank cut down and fitted and put back in. Well, it wasn't going to work. Problem is the belt tensioner stuck out farther than the pulleys, and the old tank was going to hit it and it wasn't going to clear. Even I'd have to cut it down to 2 3/4 inch to make her fit. So I decided to So I spent yesterday, I started cutting it all up, and then found out it wasn't going to work the way I needed it. The biggest problem I had was the fuel pump was always in the way, the fuel pump filter. So I pulled that all out, pulled the fuel pump and everything out of it. There's the pump and filter. I had it mounted in like so, and the problem was the fuel line coming down to it. I had to make that other tank that funky shape. So I pulled it out. Now I'm just going to have to redo it. I still have plenty of room up here to mount the battery, and I can probably get the pump and filter somewhere in here. So I've got the tank. I just started working on it today. I just marked the position here for the PCV valve to feed the basically blow-by gases that get into the oil tank, can suck into there, and then there'll be another fitting again for the fresh air inlet, so there won't be any pressure in the tank or any vacuum in the tank. So let me show you what I did. I ended up making it 3 inches thick. So now it's 12 inches here, 12 inches here, and I decided it was only needed to be 10 inches. So this is 10 inches here. That would give me enough volume for 6 quarts, 5 quarts of oil, 1 quart of air. And then once the quart gets in the motor, you're basically going to have 2 quarts of air in there. As you can see, I just finished welding in the bungs. I was able to cut them out, put them in a lathe, trim them up, and reuse them. So now this is the return line with the tube coming all the way up in, and it stops about 1 inch from the top, just like it did in the other one. This tank's just a little shorter, but it doesn't have that big dog leg in it. And then that's the oil out, which is just a flush. So now all I got left to do is drill the hole and mount that. So this one here, I spent a lot of time getting the edges very, very close. Little spots like this you see here, that's where I had to add a little bit of filler material to keep it from pulling apart on me. So, but the welds came out really nice. These bungs welded in really nice, but I was able to literally just fuse this thing together all the way around. And the pieces, when they were put together, they formed a corner. See, I don't have my pencil here, but it wasn't a lap joint. It wasn't a butt joint. I'll just kind of give you an idea. The sheets of aluminum were like this and like this. So I was able to come in and just melt this down. So they weren't like I said, they weren't butted together like this. I left it, you know, with a gap. So I had this gap here, and then it just melded and fused it all together. And then looking on the inside, you can see where I was getting penetration in the corners. Not all the way everywhere, but it was pretty damn good. So that's where I'm at today. This isn't the original tube. I just cut a new piece of tube. This here was originally pressed on the old one, so I was able to put it in press, pop it back off. Cut a 3-inch tube, pressed her back in so it's clear up into here. So it's a good 3/4, half 3/4 inch pressed in, and it's tight. So, and then it's just perfectly fitted with it's probably sticking down in the tank 1/8 to 1/4 inch. So that's it. All it's left to do is put the 2 fittings on here and some mounting tabs, and we're done. When it comes down in, hopefully we'll be able to see this. Let me grab my light real quick, if there's any charge left in it. Alright. Alright, you can see the tank here. This is the center line of the firewall. So this is the return line with the tube in the tank. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this elbow off, and I'm just going to use a straight fitting like this one. I'm just going to come straight down in and keep the 90. Oh, these things are a little twisted, so keep the 90 on there, but the 90 will come in straight. There's probably still some oil in here, but these things do not like to twist. There's still a little bit of oil in there. I mean, that can go in like that, but the idea is, if I can get this thing to twist, I want it to come in just straight in, like so. There's just some drippy oil left in there. So, but that's how it is. I just have to bump this up just a hair, just so it's not sitting on the motor mount. I made it tapered so the fuel oil can gravity feed down into the center. And then again, this is the pump inlet. So out of the tank into the pump, through the motor, out of the motor, and even this fitting, I'll run it straight in. I'll probably just run them both just short and straight. So pick this up so it don't leak overnight. Turn my light back off. And that's pretty much the extent of what I got done. Oh, I did get my car tore apart yesterday. I mentioned changing the bearing. Where's the bearing? Once I got the wheels and everything off of this, the hub literally was wiggly, wobbly. This is kind of sitting on there, but it was all pressed apart. I bought a whole new hub and new bearing. This is the inner race of this side of the bearing when you pressed it out. If I had to reuse this hub, I would have had to press that inner race off too, but it was $35 for the two new parts. It was like good enough. And then the hardest part was getting the two lower ball joints out. The ball joints are in a bushing. The bushing's pressed into the spindle, and it's like a flange bearing. It has a lip around the top, presses in flush. And then the hole in that is tapered for the typical ball joint, tapered ball joint. Usually you can just smack on the ball joints and pop them loose. These ones, you can't do that. You got to get on there with a puller. And there's two of them. So getting the puller on there to pull them out, I spent, oh my God, an hour to hour and a half just getting those two out. And then getting in here and then trying to press out that bearing and everything. The thing had no flat spots on it. So it took me half hour just to press it apart and press it back in. Pressing it back in was easy. Getting it out was a pain. But I ended up spending 3 hours on that damn thing yesterday. So I didn't get to finish. I got an oil change to do right now, so I'll wait until after dinner. It's raining. It just started raining. And there's supposed to be a passing shower, so hopefully before dark. If not, I'll have to do it in the morning. But they're calling for rain in the morning too, so. But I want to get the oil change. It's due. It's got 15,000 miles on it. At 7,500 miles for my normal oil change because of the Uber driving, it never gets dirty. It's always still clean at 7,500. And by the time I change it at 15,000, it's getting darker, but it's still not black. My wife's car at 3,000 miles is just pitch black with that direct injection motor. So, and it's 4-cylinder as well. All right, so I guess that's pretty much all I got done. Quite a bit. Let me show. I can show the old one I cut open, cut it apart. Here's the. I was going to try and you reuse this until I figured out that this wouldn't clear the belt tensioner. I had to take the belt tensioner off just to get that tank in. So after the tank's mounted, so here's what's left of it. I cut that off so I could press it apart. And I just hacked that out with the cutoff wheel and the angle grinder. They don't work great on aluminum, but it was enough. Then I stuck them in the lathe and turned on the weld, and it literally just pushed and popped the piece of aluminum off that was welded to it. So it worked real good. Just cleaned up the weld, and the fittings were still the same size they were before. Drilled 3/4 inch holes in that and welded them in place. So that's where I'm at. And God, I'm already down to like 500 pounds left in my tank because I've been using a lot. I only used, 2.5 sticks because most of that was just fusion without welding. So, mess. Absolute mess. Alright, well, I'm just going to keep this one short. Well, here's the cap. As someone asked before, it's got an O-ring in there to seal. So it still fits. I made sure it fit before I drilled the hole and welded it. I'm going to be able to get in there and open this. And I'll still be able to get access to it from the door. Again, I'll probably never even put the sight gauge back on it, the gauge I bought for it. Don't think I'll need it, but Just in case, because like I said, after it runs, it drops, it'll clear down into here. So when you fill it up initially, you'll overfill it by the sight gauge, but once it runs and circulates through, then you basically want, if the oil gets down to the sight gauge or below the sight gauge, then you know it's low. So after it's been run and let the oil circulate. So I still need to come in here and lock that off to, if you can see that any better, but there's a nice dog leg in that piece of hose. I did do some searching for those springs I'd mentioned for radiator hoses, and I found one for Ford's. It's an 1 5/8" OD spring, 13 inches long. So if I cut it in half, that gives me, 7.5 inches, 6.5 inches, and then cut that in half to give me 3.25 inches, and that's probably plenty enough to get in there. It's 3 inches. So, and it's only a $10 piece, and it's stainless steel. So that'll go in there, and that'll just keep this from sucking in. I'll put one in each tube. We'll give that a go first. That's the easiest thing to go, and there's the bungs for the 2 pieces. Like on the ones on there, like I said, I just put it lathe and I just started cutting back on these things, and then it separated all by itself. So I can probably do the same thing here and save these and reuse them, but the problem is I'm running out. I don't have any bar stock left. I need to go get some more 1-inch bar stock. I'm always needing it for stuff like this. I found this. I could turn that all down and use that for the big one. And then the little one is probably 3/4 inch piece of stock. I might have something, but that's all I got. Alright, well, I'm going to cut her off here. I told the wife go ahead and get dinner going, and I was going to try and do the oil change, but unless that rain stops, I'm not going to be able to do it. It doesn't have to be done, but it's due. Either way, as soon as the weather's nice. And today it was muggy again. It was cooler, but muggy. Not too bad. It's better today than it was yesterday. Alright, everyone, that's going to do her. I'm going to go ahead and keep this one a little short, just to show you where I'm at. Just like I said, I just got to weld some tabs on it for attaching it, put them 2 fittings in it, and it's ready to go back together. Shorten up them hoses and off to the races. Alright, everyone, as always, I appreciate you taking time to watch my videos. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns, as always. Don't be afraid to leave comments, and I appreciate the ones that people are leaving. So I will be done for the week, and I won't be back out here again till Saturday. So until Sunday night, I'll catch you guys Sunday after I get some more of this stuff together, and then we'll go from there. Alright, everybody, thanks again, and I will see you on the next one. So for now, this is Dino done out.